Hey, it's Drybear, and I have fully completed the entire campaign of Baldur's Gate 3, just no-lifing it and sweating it out, including a 32-hour stream where I didn't sleep at all. And I did this primarily so that I could get through the entirety of the game, get through all the spoiler portions so people can still watch, but also so that I could get some extensive knowledge on the game that I could help make guides for you. And today I'd like to bring you 8 tips that I think will massively improve anyone's playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3, things that I think everyone should know how to use and how to interact with. But first, you should come hang out with me on my live stream. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/Drybear. If you don't come hang out with me in the community, the next time you're out around other people, you're gonna get an itch in a spot that's gonna be a little too awkward to scratch. All right, so I'll be doing this on my second playthrough character who's in Act 1 right now, so that we avoid spoilers on location and details like that. But the first tip is gonna be around grouping and ungrouping your characters. This is very important for some difficult situations, especially if you're playing on Balanced or Tactician, where you need to separate your characters and have them move independently, and also be able to navigate obstacles without triggering traps or having other things happen. So if you didn't know, just to catch everyone up, you can group and ungroup your characters as you wish. And there's a couple ways to do this. The most convenient way is just by pressing the G key on PC. When you press G, you can see that my party members here on the left side now have this gap between them. When I click between them, it will be them separately and individually. You can also press G to bring them back together, and you can see when I press G, they reconnect. You might ask me, Drybear, why is this important? Why would I care? Well, if you notice that if I press G and I connect them together, and when I move my character, all the other characters that are grouped with me will always follow me. They are effectively being controlled by one character when they're grouped. If you control the character you've clicked on, no matter which character it is, you will be moving the entire group together. If you press G and ungroup all of them, no matter what this one character does, since it's not grouped with anything, you will be able to freely move around. And this is very useful for many, many reasons. Not only can you set up an ambush attack where all 4 of your characters can engage in battle by having an advantage and getting a surprise on the enemies because they're separate, but also say that there's a trap. So you walk up here and you see that there is a trap right in front of you, and you want everyone to jump over it individually, and you want them to navigate the trap and the dangerous area so that they don't trigger it and become a problem. You can do this by ungrouping your characters and being able to interact with them that way, cause each of them to go over the trap and say, okay, there's an explosive here, we don't want to step on it, everyone needs to get over it. And then when you're done, you can press G, regroup them, and they'll all come back together and you can continue on your journey. But this is also useful if you want to split them up before a battle. So say these NPCs here, which are friendly, but let's pretend that they're enemies for a second. If I come in with one character and they're fully grouped and I try to attack, they're all going to attack together. But say I want to set up for an optimal engagement. This is very important if you're playing on Tactician difficulty, which is quite hard. Ungroup your characters and then have your stealth character come over behind the tree and then press C to crouch. So now he's ready to shoot when the time comes. And have your combat characters come up, look for the line of sight there by pressing Shift, have them set up and get ready to go. If you've been wondering how to do that, this is the way to do it. You group and ungroup. And you can also have them group separately. So if we zoom in on the grouping on the left side of the screen, you can see that they're all grouped together. Pressing G will group and ungroup anyone that is grouped or ungrouped back together. However, there is another option that is just as useful, and that is to separate them individually. You can do this by clicking on a profile icon on the left side of the screen, dragging them away. You can see that those chains are showing me that they are grouped together. If you drag it far enough, they'll snap away, and when you let go, you can see that now just Shadowheart is separate from the group. So if I move Shadowheart around, they won't follow. But if I go back to my group of the 3, if I move, they will move with me. This is also useful if you have 2 stealth characters that you may want to move them separately together, or if you want to, usually what I'll do is I'll take my utility character, the rogue or ranger or bard at the time, that I want to disable traps or open things. I'll usually separate them out by pulling them that way, let the party sit where they are, and then I'll go around and I'll get all the traps, get everything set up, come back, press G, reconnect them, and you're good to go. The next tip is just a mega tip. I'm gonna put as much info as I can into this second tip around inventory management. There's a lot of lessons to learn here, things that you would pick up over time that I'm gonna give you now on making sure your inventory is well managed. The first one is there's 2 different screens to look at. You can press Tab to look at all of your characters simultaneously that are in the party. You can press I to look at just the character you have selected, whichever character that is. So whatever character is selected, it will show up on this I screen. If you want to look at all of them together, you can open this using Tab. But what's great about this is you can look through their spells and all of their character sheets, as well as their inventories, their current carrying capacity, how overloaded they are, in general. But for most people, I know that, as you can see, you tend to loot things on the character you're playing the most, and you get kind of overloaded in that. What's great about this is that when you are in your inventory screen, you'll notice that in the top left corner, there's a button here that allows you to sort by latest items that just showed up in your inventory, value, which is the sell price of the items, the weight of the items, and of course, the type of item. All of these can be useful individually. You can sort by type if you want your carrying capacity and your gold at the top. You can sort by latest on the newest stuff you've looted if you really want to find things that you grab, but that put them all there. Or you can sort by weight to see what's weighing you down the most. You can see this ring mail armor +1 is 17 pounds. And so that's going to cost me a lot more in that aspect. But one thing I didn't know until halfway through my first playthrough was that on this screen, when you have all 4 characters from your party, you can sort them individually and you can have different interactions with this, but that sort option is still here and it's in the top left-hand corner of the screen up here. So you can actually search for different items across all inventory simultaneously by typing into the search box when you have the tab screen open. And then when you can click this, it'll have an empty screen. You can move items between characters, have them swap between slots. And even better is up here in the top, far left top corner is going to be the sort option. And when you use this sort option on the full inventory screen, it will sort all inventories simultaneously. So you can search everyone's loot by the latest to see what was just picked up. You can sort it all by the type to get everything sorted in the right order. You can have it all by weight to see what's weighing them down the most, and then you can swap them between their inventories there. The next thing I'll tell you about inventory is something that I should have used a lot more in my first playthrough, and that is marking items for selling. And this is massively useful. When you pick up an item, you can do what's called adding to wares, and you need to be using this. It makes life so much easier. So when you right-click an item you just got, you can actually click add to wares on it. And what this does, it puts this little icon of silver on it, which marks it for wares. And then when you go to a vendor, by default, you'll be on the barter screen, which means that you can say, hey, I kind of want that, and I kind of want to sell this. And you'll be able to haggle, and based on the approval rating of the vendor, how happy or unhappy they are, they might give you different prices, and you can barter and do things like that. However, there is a different screen that most people don't know about, and that is going to be the trade screen. So if we clear out the barter screen, at the very top middle of the screen here, you can see there's a slider that goes from barter to trade. If I swap this to trade, this is true vendor that you'd get in most RPG games. You have a price, I have a price, I want to sell things, I want to buy things. Very easy, very straightforward. You double click on something, you'll buy it instantly. You double click on something, you'll sell it instantly. But you can see at the very bottom of this screen, that same wares icon that we have on items is set here. So we have 2 items currently in inventory marked for sell to wares or add to wares. They're ware items. If I go down here and click sell wares, they will both sell instantly. So as you're going through and looting and marking things for add to wares, you can then go to a vendor, switch it to trade, and then sell wares, click the next character, sell wares, click the next character, sell wares. And then everything that as you were looting, you were marking as add to wares, you can just go to a vendor and sell it all in one go without having to cherry pick each individual item and try to barter about it. The next trick that comes to inventory management, still under this inventory management system, is that you can actually group items for move all at once. And you do this by holding control and then left clicking on a bunch of items. You can see that these items all have a white border around them now as I'm clicking through. And then if I decide to, I can move these all at once to a different inventory. And then if I want to move them back, I hold control, I select them all, and they're all highlighted and selected. And then I can move them all at once right back to the inventory they came from, all in one go. Unfortunately, you can't group add to wares, things like that. But this is super useful, especially for me. I use this for weight. I sort by weight and I take all the heaviest items that for a character that's overloaded, and I find someone like Gale here who's very low on weight, and I'll move those all together to the light item, or I'll just loot with my character, and then when I'm full, I dump everything to a second character, go back to looting with my character, and that way I don't have to switch back and forth looting with individuals that may have more inventory space. And the last inventory management trick I'll leave you with, which is a big one and one that I haven't seen many people talking about, is that you can sell items from your camp stash without having to move back and forth. And you do this with a clever trick by having one character ungrouped near a vendor. So here's a vendor. So we can have my character here standing next to the vendor, and then we take another character ungrouped, and we're gonna go down to the bottom right, which I know you can't see. You just click, and you click Go to Camp. So click down here right next to your turn-based button, click Go to Camp, and send one character ungrouped back to the camp. Once you do that, you'll know that the character that's ungrouped will go back to camp by themselves. There's no one else following because they're ungrouped. You wanna come over to your Traveler's Chest, which is your camp loot, your stash that you have all your items in. And what you can do is you can actually withdraw items from that to the character you're controlling. Press Tab, this item is now here, and then you have your main character sitting in front of a vendor. You can then freely, while out of combat, transfer items from this character to that character. And then now all you have to do is click back to the character that is in front of the vendor. It's gonna load the new zone. You go back, the item you just pulled out of your camp, you can now talk to the vendor, sell it to the vendor, and do that back and forth without having to move anyone. You're set up, you can just transfer as much. And so if you're the kind of person that likes to loot hoard, you can grab an item, and when you are picking it up for the first time, instead of adding it to your inventory, you can just click Send to Camp, which has no limit. Send everything to camp, and then do this trick, and you can sell from your stash without having to transfer back and forth. The next tip is around hiding and entering into stealth. You'll note that you have a hide action that you can do, and when you click it, the character you're controlling will crouch down and enter into the stealth mode. You can find this on the left side of the screen, the icon next to him. It'll be hiding. This means that you are invisible until you pass stealth checks if people can see you. And it shows you what your visibility is depending on what light level your character is in. But if you enter into a situation where you, perception-wise, realize you're about to get ambushed, you may want to put all of your characters into stealth and make sure that not everyone can be seen. Because if you're still grouped and you put your character into stealth and you're walking and these characters aren't hiding, they're going to reveal and get ambushed, and your opportunity is gone. And so there is a way to put all your characters into stealth at once. And that is, instead of pressing C, where your character kneels down or gets back up, you just hold Shift and press C. And then everyone in your party at the exact same time will go down into hide, and then you're all hiding, you're good to go. You can very easily from here split people out, drag them out part of the party, have them go separately, or you can even just go into turn-based mode to make sure things go the way you want. The next tip is around camera control that I think a lot of people can benefit from. You can move your camera left and right using WASD. You can even set it in the options to pan when you get to the edge of the screen like an RTS would. And then you can control the angle by clicking middle mouse and turning around and then using that. And that's usually how I move around the combat the most. And of course, you can scroll wheel to zoom out and scroll wheel to zoom in. One of the challenges, though, is that it's a very complicated environment, and it's elevated as well. There's different levels of elevation that you may want to be getting through to kind of use your characters in the right way. Again, when you zoom out, it will angle the camera down, and then when you zoom in, it'll angle the camera forward, so you can see more forward and see what's out there. But what if on the other side of something, there's something blocking your way, you can't really get up in elevation, the camera's not giving you what you want it to do? There's another option, which is a top-down tactical mode, and you enter this by pressing the letter O on your keyboard. When you do this, this is more tabletop focused. You'll actually be looking straight down on the ground, and this is super useful when looking for traps specifically. If there's a trap on the ground, sometimes, especially if it's a gas trap, it's hard to see through the gas to see exactly where the trap is, so it's hard to look at it. But if you press O and look at it from top-down view, it's very easy to see the trap. You can place an item on it to block it and do that sort of thing. And of course, if there are enemies on rooftops or on other areas, you can switch to top-down mode, do your action, get your characters to move into the right place, then press O and go right back into your normal cinematic camera. The next tip is around using containers properly. I see a lot of players not taking advantage of this in the game because either they don't know or they don't play that way, but I think it's mostly that they don't know that this is how it works. You will often come across backpacks, satchels, sacks, carrying containers that have items in them. And usually you'll just go open them, find the items and close, and then walk away. However, you can actually right click on these containers and click pick up. This will go into your inventory as a container, and you can use it as a container to contain whatever you want. It has its own sorting options. You can search through the container as well. And what's great about this, the number one use that I would recommend using containers for, is you can put it on your hotbar. So you can see down here, I have this backpack set to my hotbar, and without opening my inventory at all, I can open my backpack here, which has my potions in it, my consumables, things like that. I can then from here right click on any consumable. I can throw it, I can drink it while in combat, and you just organize this to make your inventory much better, where you put all your specific items in one thing and you can move that to your slots. You can actually have 4 containers on your quick bar. Click the container that you know has potions in it or throwables, and then throw something, consume it, drink it, whatever it is you want to do, but it makes it a lot easier rather than only using 4 slots for the items you may want to use. The next tip is a big one, and one that I wish that I knew about at the beginning of my playthrough, because I feel like personally I missed a few cutscenes at camp that bugged out and skipped that I will have to just get on another playthrough when I go through the game again. And that is, I highly, highly, highly recommend ending the day from the overworld. And the reason I recommend this is because what I was doing before is I would go to camp first, load into camp, check everything, talk to everybody, go to my stash, get everything set up. Then I would go to the bedroll and end the day while in camp. And then it would reset to night, and I would go and do the next thing. And then I would, when I'm done, I would go and hit the bedroll and go to sleep and do the long rest. However, when you do it this way, there are specific cutscenes that only play when you end the day, not when you go to sleep and rest. And I found that there are plenty of times where a cutscene would start and then it would skip right over it and look like bug out and wouldn't work. I have found the best way to fix this is that when you are ready to end the day and go to the next day, stay in the overworld, like out in the actual outworld, like here in the real world. And then from there, click this button in the bottom right and go up to long rest. Instead of doing this from camp, do it from the overworld. And I've gotten a 100% trigger for cutscenes doing it this way, because when you hit this button, before it even loads the camp, it'll load those special ending the day cutscenes that are related to story and character development. It loads it every single time perfectly, and then it loads the camp in the nighttime version, and then you can go to bed and do whatever interactions or sexy times that you want to do with the characters, and it works flawlessly when I do it this way. All the issues I've had with our own cutscenes and loading and all that have gone away once I started ending the day and starting a long rest from the overworld rather than from in camp. The next tip I will leave you with is going to be around dialogue options. You will, throughout your story, I picked a side quest here so it wouldn't be anything main here, you have these options here down in the dialogue. And when you're given options, if some skill or proficiency or bonus can affect that option, then it will be listed in brackets right around the option there. And what people may not know is that you can actually hover over that option, looking at the item in brackets, and it'll tell you what the role will be for that, and also what bonuses you have. And so if you're proficient in specific things, and maybe all 5 of these options are different skills, you can go through and hover each of the bracketed options and see which one has the most bonuses to it, that has the highest chance of success when you're going through dialogue. The last tip is one that I hope everyone knows already, but it bears repeating in a tip video just to make sure that the people out there that may not know this, that they are made aware, because it makes these games a lot easier to manage. And that is F5 and F8, your function keys on your keyboard on PC, allow you to quick save and quick load at any time. This means that if you are at a point where something is about to happen, say you see NPCs up ahead that you might converse with, something might happen, or you're about to engage in a fight, you can press F5 and it will create a save for you. You'll see the save icon going, it'll say quick save successful. And then at that point where you just push that button, that is now a load spot for you. And at any point, if you feel like things didn't go the way you wanted, or you wanted to try something, or maybe you wanted to backtrack, you can just press F8 and it'll load back to the previous quick loaded option for you. And as of the full release, you can even do this during dialogue. So if there's a very important choice you're about to make, press F5, wait for it to save. When it's done, make the choice. If you don't like the outcome, you can F8. I know there's gonna be people out there to say that you shouldn't do this, you should play out everything natural. Whatever you wanna do, however you wanna play, make sure you utilize quick saving and quick loading. It'll help you out tremendously, especially if you're playing on difficulty or you end up dying for whatever reason. Make sure you're saving regularly so that you can move your way through it. And that's all I got for you for today. These are some tips that I wish I knew at the beginning of my playthrough that you now know after watching the video. If you found value in the video, leave a like down below. Leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people. and I'll see you on my live stream. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content, link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.